Welcome to this edition of the BRSN Insider. I'm sitting down with Director of Cross Country and Track and Field, Henry Brun. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Great start to the year for both the men's and the women's teams. They've won their first two meets. Just talk about the start of the year.
When we came in during Athlete Week, Coach Davis and I kind of decided that we wanted to take a specific route during that week of talking about some expectations for the team along with some training adjustments in order to see if we could make an improvement this year from last year's performances at the conference level. And they've responded to that very, very well. I think that they've bonded really well together outside of practice, and then in practice they're really fighting for each other rep for rep, and then it's really translating on the course every single Saturday.
Got to host a meet at home. Take us through that meet and what it was like.
It was interesting. We had not hosted a meet in a very, very long time, if not ever, for the program, and it was nice to be able to go out and kind of find a location here in town that catered to what we needed. The golf course in town was very receptive to us being able to go out there and set some things up, or at least just check out the course and see if it could cater to the long distance of a race for at least the men's side. And Coach Davis and I spent a lot of time this fall going out there, mapping that out, making sure that the course was adequate for the athletes. And we brought our athletes out there, ran through it, being able to find a good timing company to come in and set it up, and then even being able to get the college and the community involved, being there and watching us, and getting some local teams, some really good competition within an hour, hour and a half radius, to come and compete on that first inaugural meet. And it was really, really neat to see how it all panned out.
And then you guys get to host a conference meet on November 3rd. How will the experience from last weekend to help them?
It'll definitely help us. We now know what the course looks like. It's going to be the exact same. The conditions this first time around were a little soggy, a little wet due to the weather. I think in November surface should be a little bit harder, so it'll be a bit quicker of a course. It'll help us along with a couple other teams from our conference like CMU, Missouri Valley, and MNU who decided they wanted to come and check it out at our home meet. But it's a tough course. So what it does is just kind of build some grit. Time is not everything in cross country. It's about the people that you beat, and we're proving that the past couple of weeks by winning some team titles, and even on the men's side, not having the top individual finisher, but having a team of guys who can all finish within the top 25 puts us in a position to win team titles.
Now we could talk about Sarah White. She's won her first two races, and she's been Conference Runner of the Week twice. Just talk about her first two performances.
So those two performances, we kind of saw it coming. If you go back to May at the Outdoor Track Conference Championships, she was the conference champion in the 5K. And when she came in as a freshman 2.5 years ago, she was a high 22 5K runner. And through the process of us teaching her some strength and conditioning, some confidence with training, just building that track IQ and that running IQ, she's become a force to be reckoned with because she has not lost a race since April. So she knows every time she steps on the course or on the track that she's got a good shot to win. And it's good to see that confidence there, and it translates to the other girls on the team because they know if that she can do it, then they can definitely do it too, and they hold up their end of the bargain. And as a team, they are a force to be reckoned with in any cross-country race that they're going to have this fall.
You guys go down to Bethel on Saturday. What are your expectations for this weekend?
Bethel is going to be the host site for the KCAC Championships, so I know it's a good course. It's a fast course, and there's going to be some decent competition there that we're not going to see the rest of the season. So it's a different type of look for us. I think that if we do go in healthy and we go in confident and we race the way we've been racing, again, we have a good shot at coming home with the team titles on both sides. And that'll definitely prepare us for seeing which 7 on both sides are going to be the top 7 when we go to Roy Griak at University of Minnesota in a few weeks here. And that'll be the biggest test of the season, I think, for us.
And talk about that. Talk about what that meet's going to do for your team.
So the meet there has a lot of Division I, Division II competition. I know some D3 schools go, junior colleges go, high school teams from all over the country go. It's a big-time meet.
Yeah.
So it's kind of taken us out of our comfort zone a little bit geographically and just the level of competition. And it's going to humble us a little bit. And if that becomes the hardest meet of the season, then going into conference becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And it kind of puts us in a position where we feel confident standing on the starting line at conference, knowing, okay, we can come away with a win here and we can qualify for nationals.
All right, Coach, thank you very much for joining us.
I appreciate it.
Director of Cross Country and Track and Field, Henry Brun on the BRSN Insider.
A wise man once said, The world offers you comfort, but you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness. Discover what you were made for. Benedictine College, where greatness begins.
Back on the BRSN Insider, I'm sitting down with head football coach Larry Wilcox. Coach, thank you for joining us.
No problem.
You guys are 2-1 on the season. Your thoughts on the start of the season?
Well, obviously the first two games we were a little happier than the third one. Started off in fantastic fashion with a big win over Bethany College, sort of an unexpected score, but it did give us a chance to play a lot of guys and begin to develop some depth at some positions that we might have still had some questions about. And then to go on the road the second week at Missouri Valley, which has always been a historically difficult place to play, and come away with a victory, and for the defense to play the way that they did in both games was really gave us a lot of optimism going into the rest of the season.
And you played Evangel last week, a game that came down to the final play. Take us through that game.
Well, it's a game that we got ourselves behind in that probably we shouldn't have. We came back and took a 14-7 lead, and then gave up 2 consecutive touchdowns to Evangel. So we were behind the 8 ball late in the game, opted to go into our hurry or 2-minute offense more or sooner than normally you might, and that was effective for us. The offense went down and scored, had a nice drive, capped by another touchdown run by Marquise Stewart, and then the defense held, forced a punt, got the ball back for us, went into the 2-minute offense, had another pretty good drive, actually completed a pass that got us down to about the 2-yard line, but time ran out on us, and we needed one more play, obviously, and would have liked to have had a chance at that.
2-1. What are some of the positive things you've seen through 3 games?
Well, I think we've had to adapt pretty quickly. We came into the season knowing that probably our biggest question mark was our offensive line. We graduated 6 of our 7 top offensive linemen. Our sole returner starter was Garrett Bader, who injured his knee the Thursday before our first game. So you lose your only veteran in that group. And offensive line is a position that really those guys need time together and game experience together. But we didn't have an option for that other than our scrimmage with Highland Junior College. And I think they came together a little more quickly than we probably would have even hoped for, and we needed for that to happen, and we need for them to continue to develop. But the other thing we've had to deal with is some injuries, not only to Garrett, but Logan Harris, who we feel is really a quality receiver, had an injury in the first game, and he'll be out for 5 to 6 weeks. So you have 2 seniors there with Garrett Bader and Harris, and then some other guys, Blake Fanning, another senior who contributes a lot defensively, and then this last week, Brett Shepherdson, I think, who he and some of our other defensive guys like Dante Edwards, they give us some quickness there that in our pass rush that we were maybe lacking a little bit in week 3.
Now, the opposite of that question, what are some things that you guys need to work on going forward?
Well, I think our biggest issue offensively right now is our protection for our quarterback. Schaefer Sheets threw for, I think, 315, 16 yards this last week, but he was under duress too much. He ran the ball too much, mostly of which were forced runs, which were called pass plays that he was forced out of the pocket. And so we've got to get that shored up a little bit. As other teams see that they're able to get pressure on the quarterback, they're more likely to bring blitz and stunts and so forth against our offensive linemen. So our offensive linemen have to take on that challenge and get better. And we're pushing them hard this week in the bye week, putting a little pressure on them now. So hopefully on game day that they respond a little bit better to those situations.
Yeah, you guys are on the bye week this week. How important is the bye week?
I really never know how to answer that question. You know, it's good to maybe get some of these guys healed up a little bit more, but it's relatively early in the season. We've only played 3 games and have 8 to go, so maybe it would be nice to have it later on. I really don't know, but we just have to work with it as it is, and our focus this week was maybe having a little bit shorter practices, a little bit sharper practices, a little bit more intense practices. We told the guys last Sunday this is not an off week. I mean, this needs to be a practice week for us and a push hard week and practice and play hard week so that we can get better, that we don't become stagnant during the off time.
Conference is strong again this year. What have you seen from the rest of the conference through the first couple games?
As has been, I think, characteristic the last couple of years, unpredictability. You know, the scores coming out are not what I would have anticipated early in the day. I think the scores have been different in some of the football games. You have Evangel beating Grandview, and then Grandview turning around and beating Baker University at Baker. William Penn really smoking Missouri Valley this last weekend after they had lost. So there's some unknowns. I think Culver Stockton probably is a stronger program that they've been in many years. So that gives you another quality opponent, a team that we'll have to go on the road against too this year. So we're just going to have to look at them one game at a time. And I forewarned myself and our staff and even our players not to be comparing scores and sort of using that as a sort of a gauge on how the game might go for us, because we just have to approach each opponent independently.
You have M&U on September 22nd on Family Weekend. What are your expectations for that game?
Well, it seems like forever that we had a home game. You know, it's almost a month by the time that we will play that game. Originally, we would not have. This would have been our first home game had we not given Bethany College a guarantee to come here and play, which we really needed. But it'll be good to get back on campus, and obviously, Family Weekend's always a fun time for students on our campus here, hopefully their families, and in our case, our players. So we want them to enjoy that weekend, but we want their focus to be on the football game on Saturday, and for us to put a good product on the field. And optimistic that given 2 weeks preparation, that we'll be a little bit ahead in what we need to be able to do against Mid-America.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Appreciate it.
Benedictine College football coach Larry Wilcox on the BRSN Insider.